Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammad. In the name of Allah, the All Merciful, the Most Merciful. So we are continuing the videos on pleasures and pain, and today we're going to cover emotion and ego. First, emotion. So as mentioned, it is anything related. It's about all the signals we receive from our inner self, and something you typically don't control, and we can call this relationship to the soul or to the consciousness, or call it whatever for now. So the first challenge with emotions is that it's a very confusing topic. We have a wide range of emotions. Despite the extensive research on it, we still cannot agree on fundamental emotions. Some say there are 4 of them, some others 6, 15, 27. According to the model, you can go up, you can go very high actually, but when you look at the words themselves and how they are described, you can see, compared to what we're doing here, there's a lot of words that are a mix of a base emotion and another element of life, in particular capacities or facial expressions. But in our approach, we separate everything. Since we have a complete life model, we will treat each element in its category and separate all the meanings according to the model. Typically, the word excited is a mix of a positive feeling about an event and a capacity to act when you have a lot of energy. So here, this word can be summed up, projected into pleasure and pain with only the positive feeling, which is what we call later joy. Also, naming an emotion is also popular. It's popular these days to put any situation, in a specific situation, when something happens and you feel something, you put a name on it, and you think it's people think it's a new element, new like accurate description of life, but in reality it's just something that makes things easy, not very much fundamental base to it. What we want here is truly to have the core definition of a human in life model. For example, ellipsism refers to the sadness that you will never be able to know how history will turn out. So all these kinds of words will simply ignore them and focus only on what is and what is probably, what may be the fundamental characterization of a human life, and here emotions. And also the third confusing element is that emotions have various causes, and sometimes it's even unknown, apparently unknown. The truth is, emotions are not entirely in the apparent section, and even in the religion there is an explicit role of God mentioned in Surah 8 verse 24, and know that Allah stands between a person and their heart, and this because of this, we'll cover emotions in multiple stages across this channel, and right now it will be the first, I would say, rather easy introduction to it, and then we'll add up layers of understanding as we go through the channel. So how do we define emotions? So in truth, all these words can be summed up in 2: emotion. Emotional pleasure and emotional pain. Emotional pleasure is basically I feel positive about an event, and I feel negative about an event. For the pain, these 2 categories are sufficient to be comprehensive and meaningful, but they are not applicable. There are specific emotions that we go through life, and that requires real different approach, and in order to make things easy, to make things as useful as possible, it is a good thing to add some further split in the meaning, in the space of emotions. And here I will typically use some elements justified by the religion. So some emotions are selected by the sources. Some are very unique, anything related to death typically, and since we are going to review the meaning of nature, anything related typically to facial expression or specific situations will be treated separately. So we can remove that from we can ignore that in our split. So we can, with this in mind, we can add other divisions, and typically here we add a notion of timing before and during after a triggering event, and we add specifically death in particular. So we have we'll cover here 7 emotions: hope, fear, anger, remorse, joy, sadness, death. And remember, I use my own definitions that we'll cover now, and like for the whole channel we'll use this definition. Yes, in terms of properties, here to quantify an emotion, it's really if we can't even know much about it, we can't even characterize it. So quantification, we have no way right now to approximate anything, and we can guess that it depends on many aspects of the human life and on the triggering event itself. And the approximation will still be covered, but outside the apparent later in this channel. As for the causes, we'll do the same, cover them later. There might be a way to understand the whole thing, what is the use. Even though we don't understand them, they are useful, and what's the rationale here, we can start to address it, but much later in this channel. Just as a note, the idea of surprise is ignored as a pleasure and pain, even though it can accentuate the overall feeling, but it will be valuable in other sections. The underlying idea is that pleasure and pain here are defined as something you can intend to, something you can target in your life. So first, the hope, we can actually call it future positive, but hope, I guess, is a bit more closer to what you used to. So that's why I use this word. So definition is pleasure of a potential future positive event. So typically feeling at the thought of an upcoming meal when you are hungry, the eagerness for the next holiday, or the hope of God's reward. And you will often see them. This feeling will often be covered with a wide range of vocabulary, typically eager, excited, thrilled, yearning, hopeful, expectant, optimistic. And the underlying cause here is there is an appreciated, wanted future event, and sometimes that event is not known, but you know that there is an event. The belief that there is always a triggering event is basically an extension of all the emotions we know. Like, since most of the emotions we can define, we can always associate an event to it. So we assume and we believe, and we will define that logic of belief later, but we believe that it's the same for every emotion, that there is always a triggering event. And even in religion later, there is no free pain or pleasure. There's always something behind an event. It's also justified by the religion. Second, fear. So here, future negative. So really radical opposite of hope. Even though fear and hope is not exactly the usual definition, but remember, we only use the definition I give you. So pain of a potential future negative event. So typically failing at an exam, public speaking worries, fear of God's punishment. And it's also covered in various words, and here you will see typically fear and anxious, the words related to fear and anxiousness that are grouped in this category, even though the facial expression is very different. So afraid, apprehensive, frightened, hesitant, nervous, panic, paralyzed, scared, terrified, worried, uneasy, anxious, apprehensive, hesitant, nervous, worried, stressed, tense. All these are are related to this emotion of fear. And here there is an underlying disliked, unwanted future event, and sometimes this event is unknown, same. Then we can go on to the present, and joy is any present positive feeling about an event. So pleasure of an ongoing or past positive event, typically thinking about a good memory or peacefulness during a break. And it's also covered by a wide range of vocabulary, typically fulfilled, aliveness, bliss, delighted, ecstatic, enchanted, enthusiastic, excited, happy, passionate, playful, radiant, satisfied, thrilled, blessed, fortunate, grace. All these words have a connotation of joy in it and something else, but it doesn't matter for us right now. We put everything in joy. And the wording, the other words, actually, we don't care about them. We're not going to use them, so we're just interested in the feelings. The cause is also an appreciated, wanted, ongoing, or past event that may be unknown. Then comes the negative side, and before covering the general case, there are two specific emotions that stands out. So here, anger, pain of an ongoing or past negative event where the agent has or gets an opposed belief against that event. So typical frustration at workload distribution, annoyance at breaking the furniture. Usually it's any event that contradicts something taken as granted, that is more likely to trigger this emotion of anger, and the facial expression is very unique here. So it's quite stand out, and it's actually very dangerous emotion, as we'll see later. So here, same large range of vocabulary: angry, annoyed, aggravated, bitter, contempt, and so on. And so here it's always related to a non-occurrence of an expected event. Remember, an event can be really anything, so it will cover all the case of anger. The second that is specific is remorse. So here it's a pain of an ongoing or past negative event where an agent wished he had made a different choice of action. So there is a past action and there is a change of belief that comes after that triggers the remorse. So here events: regret of not eating healthy food, wishing to not have hurt someone, a few words, guilt, covered by a few words: guilt, regret, remorseful, sorry. And finally, the general present negative case, which we call sadness. So pain of an ongoing or past negative event, anger and remorse excluded, thinking about negative memory, loss of wealth, typically, and large range of vocabulary here as well: despair, sad, anguish, disappointed, forlorn, grief, heartbroken, melancholy, sorrow, terror, unhappy, dissatisfied. And here the cause is disliked, unwanted, ongoing, or past event. So these are the base emotions, and we finish by timing. And now we finish with the specific one. Is death, is typically here defined as the feelings when facing a life-threatening event, and it can be also positive according to the perceived control of the situation. Typically, extreme sport activities, taking a risk of your life, sometimes for some people can be taken as a positive experience, but for most people in any other situation, it's really extremely negative moment of your life to be faced with death. So a car accident, a threat at gunpoint, an extreme body dysfunction may trigger this feeling where you feel like, typically when you feel like it's the end. And there's a specific word here, a specific word for it. It's near-death experience, but it may also be triggered anything related to death, fatal accident, suicide, murder, and so on. So here it's the life-threatening event, and this one stands easy to identify as it's a very unique event, but the consequences are hard to assess, as it questions the very life of the person. So that's for the emotions. With this for now, it will be sufficient to continue, and as we'll cover belief, as we cover other topics, we'll be able to refine on all this and go further on the ideal, how to make use of this pleasure and pain. Now we can go on to ego. So ego, it's the pain and pleasure that comes from the confrontation between the real events and a person's belief on oneself. That is to say, any event related to him or her. And here the real events that occurs does not actively involve other agents. Otherwise, it's considered a community pleasure and pain that we'll see after. So here it's all about a person's belief on himself. So the moment you change the person and keep every event of the situation the same, if you change the person, this feeling might actually disappear and not occur. So it's really related, as we'll see later, to the belief of the person. So here same, no chance of approximation of the quantity of pain or pleasure that you get from this. It depends on many things, as you can guess, on the real event, on the comparison criteria, on the condition of the person's life. If it's something that adds up to something already going on, it will be a different impact. So in the apparent, no approximation is available there's a variety of underlying causes, but as emotions, the causes of ego will also be covered later in base behaviors, in satisfaction, and in hikmah and hidden as well. So the first one is any comparison with other people, and when you find yourself superior or inferior to other people, the pleasure may rise from a situation where you're superior of another person on any self-defined measure, and the pain is the opposite when you are inferior to the other person. Typically when you get a good or bad grade at school, that's where you see, you feel it. The cause is the occurrence of a comparison event that is better or worse than an actual belief's expectation. So here belief will detail that word, will define this whole section for it later. But really there has to be this comparison event for this to be felt. Then comes a specific ego one. I put it here because it stands out later. It will stand out later in the religion. Appreciation of being related to the origin of a new event, sequence, trend. Yes. So here it's about introducing something new to humanity. For example, in art, a new support tool, shape, color, style, combination. In engineering, a new solution to a problem, a new scientific discovery. In terms of product, a new system, new brand, delivering value to people. New service, same, or social trend, community trend, changing the way people behave. This has a special value. For some people, it's a special valorization that triggers a strong pleasure. So here the cause is a believed new event, sequence, trend. In the causes, you start to see belief. You will see it everywhere here. We'll see why later. Then comes scarcity. So here it's appreciation of being related to a scarce event or any self-defined criteria, and creation is excluded here. So typically that's where you see the crazy prices of famous painters' artwork, limited service products, and all the companies trying to sell you unique experience, because unique things have kind of a special effect on us. We have a special response to unique things, and this is covered by this pleasure here. So the cause here is a believed rare event. Then comes skills and achievement. So here, when you achieved something or you worked something and reached a milestone, you are there's a feeling of happiness about it, and creation is excluded here. So it's all about expertise, development, quantified work progress, achievement of a turnover, market share, an artistic mastery, an achievement of a family raising milestone, a help of people, number of people you helped, number of meal you served, or so on. Basically, it's any positive feeling from an I have done this statement. So here the cause is the believed successful action. Here again is a very powerful one for people. And with this, we've covered quickly the first stage of the emotion and ego. And inshallah, next video we can cover the community and the intermediary to finish with the pleasure and pain. Assalamu alaikum.